Welcome, everyone, and buongiorno. It is Thursday, noon Eastern time here, just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the booming metropolis known as Ambler, PA. Noon Eastern time, outside of Philadelphia, Ambler, PA. You know what that means. It's time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, recruiting, human resources as a whole, talent management, skills, and everything in between, including, of course, artificial intelligence. I am your host, Devin F. Foster, and the F is for phenomenal. Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right work. That is why we host this program every single Thursday, noon Eastern time, why we have a slew of webinars coming down the pipeline, why we host fantastic blogs, why we have the HR Innovation Showcase coming up April 23rd, why we do a monthly podcast with Cliff Yerkowitz called Unusual Attitudes. So all of that works towards our purpose of helping 1 billion people find the right work. But the way that we truly do it, what we believe in, where we put the rubber to the road, if you will, is through our intelligence talent experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve from their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level efficiency and productivity, and managers get to build better teams through data analytics and automation. And of course, all of this is powered by super slick artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if any of that interests you at all, even just a little bit, run Don't Walk to Phenom.com immediately following this program. If you're interested, there you will see a nice blog recap of what you may have missed at IAMPHENOM. There will be some links for our HR Innovation Showcase coming up the 23rd of April, and so much more wonderful information. But you're here now. You're not on Phenom.com. You're joining us from either LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or maybe even you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music. And today we have a wonderful episode. So it is an encore edition this week because we loved having Boncho Bonchev on our program last week. We chatted briefly about retaining, reskilling, and redeploying, the formula for a talent ecosystem longevity. Boncho and I sat down at IAMPHENOM just a few short weeks ago, and we chatted about it all. Everything from European football to skills to how Gen AI is truly impacting the front lines of talent acquisition, whether it be recruiters having to detect it in an interview process or machines having to detect fraud from a resume perspective. Truly, it was a great conversation. I loved chatting with Boncho. Can't wait to have him on again. But without any further hesitation, here we are chatting at IAMPHENOM about truly a talent ecosystem longevity. Thanks so much. Boncho, did I get it right?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
How's everything been? We're here live at IAMPHENOM. The people are walking around.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how much has grown.
Yeah.
2 years ago were 800 people. This year is 5,000.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, the exponential growth.
I have to pinch myself every now and again. Right? If Simone Biles later, there's an Olympian here. This is exciting stuff.
Yes.
And obviously, we're covering all the topics across human resources, talent acquisition, talent management. I want to talk to you today about talent management specifically. Okay. It seems over the past few years, there's been kind of this groundswell where candidates are getting tougher and tougher to bring into your organization, and there's been a focus more on the employee experience and finding your internal talent. Are you noticing that trend, having those conversations here today where organizations are finally making it a focal point?
Absolutely. I think there are a couple of things that come into play. This not just what organizations are able to do to attract that talent, and the experience they give, which is where Phenom really supports that. Yeah. The market itself has changed quite significantly. 2 years ago, there was plenty of talent available, and sort of it was the war for talent. Everyone was competing. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to this year, there's some industries where there's very low availability of talent, low availability of skills. Yeah. Others are not so much, and there is plenty of them. we were in a session, they said, one job application, 800 applicants, what do we do with that? Hey, Phenom, help us sort of sort through it. So absolutely, that trend continues to evolve. And what's the experience that organizations are able to sort of deliver to their candidates and their hiring managers absolutely matters.
Yeah. How much of upskilling and reskilling is playing a role into this? Because obviously we talk about the traditional onboarding process, right? The paperwork aspect of it. But I think there's something to be said to onboarding someone to your processes, your company culture, things like that. Is that really also becoming a key factor in this focus on employee retention so that you can take someone from maybe Department A and apply them to Department B by just giving them the skills and the tools that they need? Is that starting to become a normal conversation?
Upskilling and reskilling is perhaps one of the big priorities for every organization. If we take a step back, we need to be thinking about upskilling and reskilling the onboarding or talent acquisition experts who are bringing that talent in.
Yeah.
Because now it requires a different skill to onboard someone in. Yeah. Or to bring someone within the organization, and then to retain also requires a different skill. So that upskilling and reskilling is not only on skills that are needed to deliver on the job, but also as a people managers and as a talent acquisition experts, as a onboarding support experts, that's also required upskilling. And just with today's announcements on onboarding agent, in order to be able to really use that agent, you really have to upskill yourself a little bit in order to deliver that. But going back to your question on upskilling and reskilling, organizations who focus on identification of those skills, so they can actually upskill, identify how their learning development functions need to change what they're upskilling and reskilling on in order to deliver that. So there is a overall transformational effort within the organization, not only to recruit on skills, but once you get them in, to how to upskill and reskill and deployment, to the rest of the organization.
How much fear is involved in this from an organization perspective? I think of it as like European soccer, football, if you will, right? There's a club like Ajax, right? Sort of brings in all of this top talent, upskills them to the Champions League quality, and then the big clubs come in and poach them, right? I think of that where you invest all of these skills, upskilling, reskilling your maybe entry-level positions, your early career positions. Is there a fear factor of we're developing these individuals and then they'll leave, right? Or is that into consideration at all where companies are saying maybe we should think about it the traditional way, even though we're having these conversations where as we reskill, we still need to find people and bring them in for those positions. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think that has existed for a very long time. Hey, I teach someone how to fish, and then they're off on fishing on their own. But I think the mindset has changed, because if you do not upskill and reskill your current employee population, you cannot deliver on the current needs that you have. So you are in need of doing that, and if some leave and you've done it well enough, your legacy continues, because now you become, like Ajax is known for their developmental program.
Yes.
I'm a West Ham fan.
Okay.
They're known for that as well. We don't have great, players, but we have a very good academy.
Yes. Yeah.
And these clubs have a significant value for those players, and organizations should have the same for their employees.
But yeah, I think it's the way that I use sports and analogies and things like that. They directly correlate to what we're dealing with in the business world. And sometimes sports is a little bit ahead, right?
But like in any sport, the upskilling and reskilling is only a portion of it. The retention becomes a critical aspect of keeping those employees in, and that's on on the organization. It's not, so reskilling and upskilling is only portion of it, and it's not always they have to leave. If you do not provide the rest of the ecosystem, of course they will leave.
Yeah.
But if the rest of the elements are there, they're not going to leave. And your upskilling and investment will definitely pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of paying off, for years we've seen the statistics that referrals are more beneficial than external candidates and posting on job boards. Retaining employees is ROI. There's ROI correlated to that. Is there a formula? Do we have statistics that say if you hire someone and they stick with the company for X, Y, Z years, there's truly a cost-benefit analysis when it comes to this versus constantly going out and fishing in the pond?
Harry talked about this. There is not a one-shot process anymore. We don't go into an organization, stay there for 60 years, retire, and this is our journey. So with that mindset, you know that you have to have all of these components into your operating model in order to get the best benefit. Is there a perfect formula? No. In some industries, referrals are really, really strong pipeline for candidates and employees. Others are not, and that's normal. And some organizations use them very successfully. Others do not. Should they? Perhaps, but it's not a one size fit all. And referrals is just one of those. One of those channels. If that was the question.
It does, yeah. I think organization we constantly.
Which one is more expensive? Obviously, external is more expensive.
Yes,
right? Referrals, they can be expensive if you're paying high referral bonuses. Our organization pays up to $10,000 to $15,000 on a referral, but those are very highly skilled and hard to find positions. But others are not, and external hiring perhaps is the most expensive. So there is definitely a mix.
Absolutely, and if you are looking for those very tailored, very specific roles, I think of why staffing agencies exist, right? Those are not cheap. Some of those fees can be upwards of six figures, right? If it's certain roles, and that's
like
an
your
entire
salary,
industry.
full salary for a year, right?
Exactly.
I mean, they are expensive. But here is what, and again, not just Phenom, the sourcing elements and the skills to go and find these hard to find those hard to find candidates for those roles is where the industry is changing. Because it's not about those positions that you get hundreds of applicants, or those positions that you can only get 5 or 10 and they're very, very difficult. This is where the sourcing becomes really, really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to continue to get more challenging. I know when we were prepping.
And they might not be filled with with the referrals.
No, yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So,
everyone loves referrals. It's not as easy as it's made out to
be. I have clients who say 40% of my roles are filled from referrals. That's fantastic. Others are not.
Yeah. And this is just my personal experience. It's a little scary from a perspective of an employee. If you're representing me, if I bring you in here, right?
Yes.
I'm staking my job on you, which is why my college buddies I've never referred to for a role. But neither here nor there. They are all gainfully employed.
The question is, do they refer you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who knows? Well, they're questionable. But we're talking about these hard to fill roles where maybe there's 5 candidates. And I think the narrative right now is that they're going to become even more challenging, especially with the introduction to generative AI. And I'm not going to talk about it from an organizational perspective where it can streamline things, make it easier. But when we were setting up for this call, you mentioned how candidates are now using it to kind of trick ATS systems to weave their way into positions they may not be qualified for. How much are organizations talking that and taking that seriously today?
Every organization is, absolutely. And the equation here is if the organization is using AI to streamline things, the notion is a positive notion, right? I'm going to assess everyone that comes in. It's a positive notion. The notion that the candidate are using these tools to better represent themselves should also be a positive thing. Yes, there can be the rogue players out there that spoil the fun, but I think those tools, in order to prepare, many people, qualified people, are just not well prepared for interviews. So why not use those tools to get you ready for the big time, for the key interview, so that you can nail that and really have that job. So yes, organizations are starting to grapple with this, and this is another point for, that you mentioned, skilling and upskilling and reskilling recruiters in order to be able to sort of manage through that. If I'm using AI to assess you, why are you not using AI to assess me?
Yes.
So, and I should know this, and we should recognize that. And today you guys introduced the voice agent.
Yes.
What if I have a voice agent?
I think
So a voice agent to a voice agent, then who wins?
it's true. Who gets the job?
So who gets the job? And that's going to be part of the upcoming environment.
Yeah.
And it should be looked at as a positive thing, and then we can manage through it. Because candidates look at the AI with the same fear and apprehension as organizations look at candidates' AI.
Yeah.
Bias, ranking. No one knows what you're putting me really in through, and how you have set up and how you have coded this. Yes, on a surface is the AI does it, but underneath is very unsettling for candidates to know that they're just at the whim of the AI.
Absolutely, and I think for candidates to combat this with their own AI, it should be embraced, to your point, because they're going to be expected to use it once
Absolutely.
they leverage it. So transparency, I think, is
Transparency.
the most crucial aspect.
Yes, absolutely. And it's going to be a thing of the norm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's already a day-to-day part of mine. I do recap videos for this event, and I am here on the fly. I don't have time to step into a recording studio, get fantastic sound. So I'll type up a script, proofread it with a generative AI tool, and then upload it and get a fantastic British voice. I do a British accent from time to time. It's not good, but nonetheless.
Or if you can do something about mine, that would be fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it will be more and more. I think it's not so much on the recruiters, perhaps it's more on the hiring managers, where they don't have the day-to-day experience to deal with those things in order to be able to absorb and how they manage that. So, all hiring managers don't know what kind of questions they should ask. In the future, it's going to be one of those things, is how do they manage through some of those AI-supported candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that in certain industries are going to be affected by this more so than others right now?
Absolutely.
Which ones in particular?
Anyone who is dealing with high volume recruitment. Because if your agent is talking to my agent and Devin shows up instead of Devin showing up, only actual, and that's really hard to catch.
Yeah.
That's hundreds of jobs being. So I think that's perhaps the where some of that challenge could be. And thinking about it, who is most sophisticated? Is it the highly sought after sort of white collar jobs versus more of the operational high volume jobs? But industries where there is a lot more volume, they're going to see it a lot more because there's a lot more churn into it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and we're already starting to see that, right? It's going to bring the human element back in some way, shape, or form. You're going to have to meet people face to face, right?
Human in the loop.
Recruiters are going to have to come off with some of those off-the-wall questions in the interview process that aren't readily accessible on a Glassdoor or something like that.
Yes.
Because for years, people have been studying. They've been preparing for interviews, finding these things out. It's only natural that they are going to follow the wave and leverage generative AI the same way that we would as end users.
Absolutely.
This is an exciting conversation. I could talk about it with you for hours. I want to ask just kind of future state as we look at the world and all that is happening. Do you foresee that truly 2026, 2027, with some of the economic uncertainty, we'll call it, that individuals will be staying at organizations longer, upskilling will be a huge part, and within that upskilling, they'll be leveraging generative AI, leveraging AI on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think so. I think what happened a couple of years ago with great sort of movement of talent throughout organizations has certainly subsided. And organizations are really offering a lot more to the employees on various levels, not only from a pay perspective, but also from career perspective, upskilling, reskilling perspective, bringing a much greater value, employee value to the employees. So I believe that will impact how many open opportunities will be there for people to sort of transition and hop around. I think at the hourly rates, at the lower, I think that would continue, but I think the longevity of employees will continue to grow with the upper level of the pyramid.
Frontline, I think, has always been a very competitive. I don't want to use the term loyal, or unloyal sort of thing, but if you're playing in that talent pool and you're offering someone, $15 an hour and they get a job offer for $20 an offer or $20 an hour down the street, they're going to take that, right?
Absolutely.
I think hand over fist. So it's exciting times, a little scary, right?
Yeah.
I think exciting in the future. If there's one thing for the audience at home,
and this is not just what organizations are doing. It's just one part of the equation, right? It's actually, so that's the supply, that's the demand element of the equation. The supply element of the equation is really the job market out there, the labor force. And if that continues to remain quite tight, as what it is, at 4% as of last Friday, organizations will not go out and try to find and spend more money on external recruitment, but look at their internal talent pool and really manage that through kind of the internal marketplace and move those employees, upskill, reskill, and move them through the organization. And that would really create a better experience for those employees, thus then staying.
Time is a flat circle. We're going back to the days where individuals would be, company man or company woman. I've worked here for 30 years. They give you a gold watch on the way out.
Maybe.
One can hope. I've been a phenom for 8 years, and I don't see myself going anywhere at this time. If there's one key takeaway that you want the audience at home to have when it comes to upskilling, reskilling, retention, anything along those lines, what would it be?
I think it would be around the type of skills. And it should be connected to AI. Everyone should really practice using AI in its various forms. There is a research out there that says executives would not hire a person who doesn't use AI. 2 out of 3. So in the future, if you're not an AI user, you're kind of pushing yourself out of the market for many of these positions, because the AI tools or the agents become a norm as part of that environment. So that would be my only kind of key takeaway. I have to upskill myself. Everyone needs to know how to use those tools in order to, deliver their work better.
I think if you're uncomfortable with it, that's okay.
But we're not. We're asking Siri. We're asking, and those things are just that. We just need to find a way how to use them in our work environment, which is different than our home environment, where everything is so personalized. Your Netflix knows exactly what you're watching. Your food ordering, DoorDash knows exactly your favorite things. But at work, we're not like that. Everything has to. So the more personalization comes, the more of that will become valuable.
Awesome. If folks want to reach out to you, learn more, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I think that's the easiest to find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Boncho Bonchev, for sitting down with me and chatting at IAMPHENOM. Love the conversation. Definitely some great takeaways in there. I know we've started airing some clips on socials, so definitely interact with them. We always tag Boncho in them, so you can find him reach out to him just like he asked on LinkedIn. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. Next week, we have a brand new episode, so you won't want to miss it. But let's be honest, you don't want to miss any TXL episodes. A couple weeks ago, started the TXL bets trend or segment. We are 2-0 with both Phillies moneyline and Chelsea moneyline, respectively, the past 2 Thursdays. Today, we're going to switch it up a little bit. Brandon Marsh, 1 hit versus the Atlanta Braves tonight. Ride with us. We're going to do this throughout. We're going to continue to have some fun on this program. And we'll see you next week for another fantastic episode, another TXL bet. This isn't a gambling show, but you get the idea. And we can't wait to see you then. Everyone stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great weekend. Thanks so much.